With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. Andy Serkis was talking about the fate of Snoke in Star Wars The Last Jedi. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, there will be spoilers here, but at this point in time, I'm pretty sure you already know the spoilers. So I don't feel bad talking about them. The movie's also almost 2 months old, so at this point, I think general discussion of spoilers is perfectly fine. Now, it says here that unhappy that Supreme Leader Snoke was killed in The Last Jedi without being revealed as Darth Plagueis or some other ancient Sith Lord. Yeah, we feel your pain, but as we know now, Snoke isn't a Sith, and based on Rian Johnson's handling of the character, he doesn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of the new trilogy, or does he? Well, he matters in the way that he helped Kylo Ren to the dark side, or turn Kylo Ren to the dark side, and train him as an apprentice of the dark side. Beyond that, is he more significant, or will he remain in two pieces for J.J. Abrams' Episode 9? Now, while talking with Slash Film, Andy Serkis offered his thoughts about whether or not the villain would return in the next Star Wars entry to close out the current trilogy, saying, look, it's Star Wars, so you never know how life or whether life can come back or not. Whether you can be resuscitated or brought back. I was shocked dramatically. I felt it was right for that moment in the film, so I didn't question it. I just think it's a very, very important scene, so I didn't question it. But I know that it's left fans feeling that they were really searching for something there, and what I'm saying is, who knows? So it's kind of a rambling answer to the question, obviously. But at the same time, well, right? I mean, let's kind of think about this for a second. Now, the events in Star Wars are ultimately cyclical. Time is, the kind of key events or key themes are cyclical. Things may change, but there's always been like the power of two, right? The master and the apprentice. In this case, Snoke was the master. Kylo was the apprentice. Snoke says in the movie that the darkness has risen to meet the light. So the balance is what he's referring to. And ultimately, he's trying to find Luke Skywalker because Luke was his balance. I think the only reason why Luke was able to die is because he knew Snoke was dead. I have a feeling that that's a deleted scene, or that's going to be in the novelization of the movie. It's going to be one of those little lines of dialogue or those internal thought bubbles that pop out where he's like, oh, damn, Snoke is dead. The biggest, blackest motherfucker in the galaxy is gone, man. I can finally die. Like, I have a feeling that's what they're going to try to argue in the book. Still lame, but whatever. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Snoke's going to come back. It only makes sense that he comes back, okay? Because while he may not be mentioned as a Sith, and the Sith was barely mentioned in the movie, this took a lot from the prequels. This movie was inspired more by the prequels than I think anything else ultimately, and that might play into it. So if what you've got is Snoke as a Sith, right? Or I don't know if he's Darth Plagueis. I don't know. Part of me wants him to be, because I figure if he is Darth Plagueis, then it would give that character, that entity, more weight. That story that Palpatine said. He's like, oh, I was his apprentice and I killed him, but he had learned to master death. So if he had learned to master death, who's to say he didn't, through the power of midi-chlorians, find a way back in? There's also been the speculation that he was, and this is interesting, that he was Anakin. That through the manipulation of, that he spawned Anakin. There's been a theory of that for a while. And that would, look, at this point, with the flying Jedi through space, with the force projection, the doppelganger that can cause death from force exhaustion, if they all of a sudden brought back midi-chlorians, I would sit there and go, I've heard and seen worse in Star Wars movies than midi-chlorians, and maybe it just kind of seems to work in what they're trying to do. But he's not the only one that's invested in their character coming back or curious about what's going to happen. That also would be Gwendoline Christie, who is basically here saying that she isn't sure about her character's fate and that it scares and upsets her because she really wanted to see the character explored. Going on to say, I'm actually very invested in the character now, and that's genuine. That's not just chat. It has opened up a chain of stories and events in my mind about who Phasma is. Now, we know that Phasma had her 2 minutes of screen time in The Last Jedi. Keep in mind, Disney spent all sorts of time building the character up. They gave her a comic book. They gave her a novel. They had tons of merchandise with Phasma on it back in 2015 and 2016. They were building up Phasma, only to have her show up here for a brief minute and then get like kind of booted. I mean, she's got to be this one the new Boba Fett, right? That's kind of what you can take from that. And will she come back in the third film? Again, you know, events, I would assume yes at this point. I would assume that she has survived the explosion and she found a way to get out of there, and that's her whole deal. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of what happened in The Last Jedi, Luke, Snoke, Phasma, retconned into a more fantastical element. All right, like that's what I feel is going to happen here. And I feel that way because I think to save the franchise, at least right now, that is what you have to do. You can end the Skywalker saga by all means at the end of number 9, and you should end it. But it should be a proper, complete ending, not this what? And so I feel like Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams are going to work on the script in order to make it work like that. Now, like I've said before, Chris Terrio, you know, he came off of Argo, co-wrote Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. He's I think, and Justice League too. So the guy's got, you know, he's got big budget, you know, chops in him and whatnot. And I think we'll be able to get some kind of conclusion out of this. But then again, and someone has said this to me before, it's J.J. Abrams, so the likelihood of an actual conclusion is slim to none.